Okay, so indentured servitude, and it ties into the notion of involuntary immigrants. In this particular case, indentured servitude, they were voluntary immigrants. They signed a contract. They came to the United States. They came to what eventually will become the United States, and in their contract, they were required to work a number of years because they lacked capital. They lacked perhaps skills. And they were forced to perform arduous labor, and many times because of their lack of opportunity, their indentured status was extended. Now, most often when these indentured servants rebelled, especially in the southern colonies, it paved the way for their replacement as workers through the introduction of slavery. So indentured servitude has always been tied with African slavery. Masters do not like it, white masters do not like it when white workers rebel. Please understand that. Wherever slavery appeared in the British colonial empire, historians have documented that it was usually preceded by white indentured servitude. So wherever slavery appears in the British colonies, it's usually because white indentured servitude led to rebellion. Many whites did not like the oppressive experience of indenturedness. So wherever slavery appeared, it was preceded by white indentured servitude. So very, very important. Eventually, the reliance on the African slave trade is going to influence historians to identify the expansion of markets as a triangular trade. Now let's go to a film clip that helps us appreciate the importance of the involuntary immigrants that are going to arrive in this country.
Historians estimate that between 1500 and 1870, more than 11 million men and women were carried across the Atlantic Ocean in ships like these. The passengers were forcibly transported from Africa to the West Indies, Brazil, or other lands of the Americas. These people were enslaved Africans, and their lives on board the slave ships were filled with pain, suffering, and death. In the 1500s, Europeans saw enslaved Africans as a source of inexpensive labor for their colonies. European planters established plantations or huge farms in North America, South America, and the Caribbean. As the plantations grew, more slaves were needed to work on them. Slavery had existed in Africa since ancient times. Some African kings and merchants captured people and sold them as slaves to European traders, as well as to Arab merchants. When the demand grew, kings often sent their warriors to attack neighboring villages for slaves. The Europeans treated slaves like cargo. They were locked inside cells for weeks until ships could take them to colonies across the ocean. For slaves, life on a slave ship during the Middle Passage was a nightmare. Even crew members were shocked by the conditions in the slave holds.
When I had to enter the slave deck, I was forced to crawl over the slaves. The Negroes are frequently packed so close together that they had not so much room as a man in his coffin. I was so overcome with the heat, dense and foul air that I nearly fainted. It was only with assistance I could get on deck.
Alexander Falconbridge. Although the transatlantic slave trade, the bringing of slaves from Africa to the Americas, was abolished by U.S. law in 1804, some traders chose to ignore the law. They continued to capture Africans and transport them across the Atlantic.
Again, get to understand the notion of the formation and control of labor forces. And I had put up indentured servants versus African slavery, voluntary immigrants signing contracts, involuntary immigrants forced into labor. But the whole idea is labor force recruitment for the expansion of markets. Okay?